Hello, Pittsburgh. I'm Laura Corrett, President and CEO of Giant Eagle and Chair of the Allegheny Conference. Welcome to the conference's 2021 annual meeting. I am proud to be here today to provide a review of our progress as a region and a vision for the future from our board leadership. We are grateful that more than 1,000 people, members, and partners registered to join us today. We have a wonderful region. We have a lot to do, and we need to get it done. Now on to the business of the Allegheny Conference annual meeting. On behalf of the entire community, I want to start by thanking our frontline workers. Every day you are getting it done through your hard work, courage, and determination. We know that you do not have the luxury of working from home, and I want you to know we are grateful for all you do. Thank you from all of us. Now, let me thank our Regional Investors Council members, as well as our generous sponsors throughout 2020. We appreciate your commitment to the region and to us through a challenging year. Thank you. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize many people across our region for the response to the pandemic. This has been a deep human tragedy. To anyone who has lost loved ones, we extend our deepest sympathies. Our public and private sector leaders, employers, and workers responded with creativity and care to keep businesses operating, support those who could not, and lessen the impact for individuals displaced by the public health and economic crisis. I step into my role as chair of the Allegheny Conference at a time unlike any other in the history of our country, let alone the Pittsburgh region. We are facing a global pandemic, a struggling economy, deep-rooted racial inequity, capped by a grueling election season that culminated in threats to our democracy. While it's easy to see these times as tumultuous, we can also see them as an opportunity. We can choose to step up to the challenge and remain productive to repair, rebuild, and reset our region. We have a lot to be thankful for. We can stay optimistic and determined to accelerate our progress against our vision. Today's annual meeting is an opportunity to look back on the strengths that brought us through this pandemic, together and stronger. It is also an opportunity to look ahead with a renewed sense of duty, optimism, and purpose. And while we are still addressing the pandemic, in 2021, we must also plot our path for recovery and continue our journey towards creating a vibrant region for all. We believe this year will bring repair, recovery, and the opportunity to enjoy the thriving and open Pittsburgh region that we love. And perhaps most importantly, our work together will position our region to experience our full potential in 2022 and beyond. On the horizon, we see a better tomorrow because we came together during the pandemic to hold ourselves to the highest standards to keep our community safe, to keep our businesses safely opened, and now in deploying the vaccine, including doubling down in our efforts to quickly and safely deploy vaccines in at-risk neighborhoods. These efforts have helped to protect Pittsburgh, but we're also calling on Pittsburghers to continue to do the right things to protect each other. Even once we're vaccinated, we will still need to adhere to common sense public health measures for the foreseeable future. Our Proud to Protect Pittsburgh campaign voices this perfectly. Proud to Protect Pittsburgh is about looking out for one another and our economy, especially our region's small businesses. This type of coming together in the face of a challenge is in our DNA as Pittsburghers. It's the people of the Pittsburgh region that will make the difference in preparing to return to an open, thriving economy. We all have personal responsibility to look out for one another, to accept the vaccine when it's available to us, and to continue following guidelines. I hope one takeaway from today is it is the Pittsburgh way of doing things that has always set us apart. And we will rely on that and our well-laid plans to get to the future on the horizon. Stephanie Pashman, CEO of the Allegheny Conference, will join us next to reflect on 2020 and how it's paved the way for this year's work. Before we share the anthem video from the Proud to Protect Pittsburgh campaign, I want to acknowledge the funders who made it possible. With their support, we were able to reach tens of millions of people across mediums with a message of hope and encouragement. We are nearing the finish line of the pandemic. It's our responsibility as Pittsburghers to stay strong and support one another. Let's take a look at the campaign.
Here in Pittsburgh, some of us get up early, and some of us stay out late. Some of us call downtown home, and some of us stretch far and wide throughout the 10-county region. Some of us love the Steelers, and some of us love the Pirates and Penguins. Some of us draw our dreams, and some of us build them. But we all know what it means to work hard. We all love to play hard, and we all know how to do our part. This year, we've all faced hardships. But nothing beats Pittsburgh. Nothing. Not now, not ever. Because we always have each other's back. That's why
I'm proud to protect my Pittsburgh neighbors.
The ones I never met.
And the ones I love best.
My grandmother.
My family.
I'm proud to protect our small businesses.
Our big businesses.
Our livelihoods.
I'm proud to protect our favorite bars.
Our hotels.
And our favorite restaurants.
I am proud to protect our health systems, our hospitals, our first responders.
I'm proud to protect our essential workers.
I'm proud to protect places we worship, the places we serve.
I'm proud to protect our artists, our theaters, our museums.
Before I was a professor, I used to wear this mask while training to fly in space. I was proud to do it then, and I'm proud now to wear a mask to protect my neighbors.
I'm proud to protect Pittsburgh for my students.
By working together to control the spread of this virus.
We're taking every step necessary to keep the entire community safe.
And we're going to get through this together.
I'm proud to protect the greatest fans in the world.
We're proud to protect our employees by wearing a mask while building the future of mobility.
I'm proud to protect Pittsburgh.
By enjoying life at home.
By picking up takeout.
By giving gift cards.
By wearing a mask.
By washing my hands.
By keeping gatherings small.
By buying local. By finding ways to connect even from a distance.
I'm proud to protect Pittsburgh by staying home for the holidays.
I'm proud to protect Pittsburgh so we can fill our stadium with energy, love, and excitement.
Pittsburgh, we've got this.
Because we've got each other.
Just like we always do.
the finish line is in sight. Stay strong, Pittsburgh.
Good morning, Pittsburgh. Thank you, Laura. I'd like to first take a moment to welcome you as chair of the Allegheny Conference. In the very few short weeks that you have been in this role, I can share with everyone here that you have accepted this challenge with passion, energy, and a demonstrated commitment to do what it takes to move this region forward. I personally look forward to supporting you, seeing what we can get done together, what fun we can have, and showing our daughters what is possible. But before I go any further, I want to personally recognize and thank Bill Demchak for his leadership as chair over the past 3 years. Bill, thank you for the opportunity to work with you in this role, for your support. And I can tell all of you, he really is that brilliant, that determined, that passionate, and that good. We are all fortunate as a region to continue to benefit from Bill's leadership moving forward as chair of the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance. And even more importantly, as a region, we all benefit from PNC's growth that only strengthens our reputation in the international business community. Bill, thank you for all you've done and will continue to do on behalf of our region. And now for all of you, our partners, our members, our community leaders, and all of our friends out there in Zoom land, thank you for standing with us this past year. Together, we again showed our regional fortitude in the face of new and seemingly insurmountable challenges. There is nothing I am looking forward to more than being in the same room again with all of you. And before I can go any further, I just want to take a moment to pause, so we can acknowledge together the many we lost to COVID-19 this year. Acknowledge the suffering that many of you experienced from job loss, increased pressures on the home front, and the pain we endured together in the face of racism and hate. Please join me in a moment of silence. Today, we have a chance to talk about what we achieved together last year, how we reimagined almost overnight how our lives would move forward and how we continue to do the business of this region. We reinforced that we can, and most importantly, we do continue to take care of each other. And that's a really positive takeaway from 2020. Now to get to the business at hand. For the Allegheny Conference, 2020 first and foremost meant responding directly to the pandemic and the resulting economic fallout. Before I share our accomplishments, I want to remind you that our work is propelled by the Allegheny Conference and its 3 affiliates who work as a staff team to deliver the results I will share with you today. The Pittsburgh Regional Alliance, under the leadership of Mark Thomas, the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, under the leadership of Matt Smith, and the Pittsburgh Economy League, under the leadership of Vera Krakanova. The pandemic brought about immediate and enormous economic hardship. In just 2 months, the region shed over 202,000 jobs from its employment base, reaching an unemployment rate of nearly 17%. Now, more than 10 months later, the positive news is that we regained a substantial share of those lost jobs through the year, and our unemployment rate has now dropped to 6.1%. We still have a lot of work to do. We have 85,000 fewer jobs available in our region than we did this time last year. Most of our businesses experienced significant disruptions. A substantial share of our small businesses and our arts organizations faced and continue to face very real survival challenges. Despite the collective adjustments to the way we are today, more than 1/3 of all businesses are experiencing significant demand, productivity, and capital decreases. The inability for several of our sectors to resume full-scale operation until the virus is sufficiently tamed threatens a long-term, if not permanent, loss of 60,000 jobs in more than 20 specific occupations, most of which tend to be lower skilled and lower paying. This reinforces the notion of the K-shaped recovery, putting already economically vulnerable workers and their families in even more hardship. This challenge framed our approach to 2020. We found a way to respond to some of these challenges, and we continue the important work of advancing our Next is Now plan that we so optimistically released at the end of 2019. So on that fateful day in March when we went into lockdown, our members immediately forged a partnership with Global Pittsburgh to source and deliver 575,000 pieces of personal protective equipment for our frontline workers. That seems like a lifetime ago. Within 36 hours of the order, we launched an online resource to serve as a hub of trusted information for our members and our region overall. This hub remains active and live today. Part of the information we shared included our very active response and recovery webinar series that bridged the information gap with credible experts and public officials talking directly to all of you. We pushed for the passage of the initial COVID relief legislation, which included the Paycheck Protection Plan, that famous PPP funding, which offered support to our businesses of all sizes, including our small businesses. And while it didn't happen in 2020, we are continuing to advocate in 2021 for temporary, timely, and limited liability protection for businesses. These narrow but meaningful legal protections foster a safe reopening for our businesses, protecting them from any second guessing after the fact if they followed reopening guidelines. And we are also continue to advocate for the much needed support for our local governments. Later last year, as our case numbers began to climb across the region and the holidays were approaching, we launched the Proud to Protect Pittsburgh campaign to encourage residents to stay home, wear masks, and socially distance. The holidays were a crucial time, and there's actually evidence that our neighbors did cut back on small gatherings that helped to reduce the COVID surge. The video Laura shared earlier was a marquee piece of content from this effort. And I want to thank our partners again for this effort, especially our board's Resurgence Task Force, who helped drive this under Laura's leadership, as well as the leadership of our new chair of the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber, Brian Selesky, founder and CEO of Argo AI, who you will hear from shortly. But believe it or not, a lot more happened in 2020 beyond our response to the pandemic. We continued to pursue our regional vitality agenda, implementing that 10-year plan that we again optimistically launched to focus on regional vitality and growth. I am proud to report progress in several key areas. Overall, the effects of the pandemic impacted each of our diverse business sectors in a variety of ways. And as we analyzed these impacts, we needed to change our approach to business investment. We had to capture these opportunities in industries that were actually benefiting from our shifting economic environment. Our economic development efforts last year resulted in 29 business expansions and locations across the region, representing $500 million in capital investment and paving the way for the creation and retention of 2,240 jobs. Some notable projects worth mentioning, including Crystal Biotech, Zoom, Mendera, Race Pro Products, as well as new development scale projects, such as Lawrence County's new Stonecrest Business Park. To capitalize on potential opportunities due to the shifting global supply chains, we drafted and worked with state legislators to introduce the Reshore to Restore Pennsylvania proposal to incentivize businesses to establish operations in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Perhaps most important of all, we look to the post-pandemic world to come. We launched our new regional brand, Pittsburgh Region Next is Now. With great thanks to the many members of our Strategic Communications Committee and many of partners and all of you, we now have a unified, consistent, and relevant story to tell about this region. This new brand is a critical piece of the foundation that we have lacked in recent years that got in the way of our ability to attract and retain the people and investment our region so needs to thrive. This is a big step forward, and we've been pleased with the enthusiastic response to date. Now it's up to all of us to make it a success and use it to get our message out across the globe. Follow us on social, share our posts in your networks, and this will go a very long way to reaching new audiences with this Pittsburgh story. In response to the protests stemming from the killing last year of George Floyd, we redesigned our board racial equity committee under the leadership of Bill Strickland and Grant Oliphant. This cross-sector group came together to define a targeted, measurable, aggressive plan focused on finally combating structural racism by addressing inequitable economic, health, and educational outcomes in our region's Black community. We are implementing a results-oriented plan in 3 key areas of collective action. First, actions that our member organizations will take to retain and elevate Black professionals across the entire talent pipeline, from entry level through management, through C-suite and boards. We must see these numbers rise and wages rise with them. Further commitments include developing anti-racist training, education plans, and focusing on corporate investments to support economic inclusion and opportunity in our communities and neighborhoods. Second, we committed to a set of actions that can be advanced through our collective advocacy voice, such as supporting paid sick and parental leave, advocating for investments in education, public transportation, and broadband infrastructure for all, as well as advocating for police and criminal justice reform. It's actually worth noting that the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, responding to requests from our local Black elected officials coalition, was already well underway by getting national recognition as one of the first business-led organizations to take a strong public stand on criminal justice reform. And finally, within our plans around racial equity, we have defined a set of actions that the Allegheny Conference itself can take on behalf of the collective membership, such as supporting the attraction and expansion of minority business enterprises, as well as the development of an ecosystem and opportunities for diverse talent, supporting the development for affordable housing, and enhancing the engagement of our Black professionals in the leadership of our organization. The implementation of all of these efforts will occur under the leadership of the board, as well as under the leadership of a new vice president of a diversity, equity, and inclusion, for which we are in the process of recruiting today. Creating a next generation for all has been our goal, and it is once and for all time to build a region where our Black neighbors are safe to fulfill their dreams and livelihoods. And as you all know, this has been a commitment I made to you on day one. This plan signifies that deepening of that pledge and is anchored in concrete, sincere steps that we will take together to eradicate systemic racism. If we are to overcome this challenge, which we must, It will require sustained, unwavering, measured effort from each of us. Our 2020 progress also includes legislation to remove barriers to opportunity by addressing specific structural problems that disproportionately impact communities of color. Act 83 of 2020 expunged criminal records for individuals who were unconditionally pardoned or fully acquitted, thereby allowing thousands of individuals to now enter our workforce. A criminal record often stands in the way of people reaching their full potential and disproportionately impacts our minority workers. Act 53 of 2020 modernized the occupational licensure system, which previously had been confusing, outdated, and inconsistent across industry classifications. This barrier exposes and unlocks opportunity for many of our small and minority-owned businesses. Now, if you want to open a business or work in one in Pennsylvania, we have a modern, streamlined system to obtain the necessary licenses for your company. Also last year, we again responded to the cries of our local companies who have trouble finding talent by continuing to focus on keeping a greater share of our college graduates, an invaluable pipeline for all of our local employers. To this end, we continued our Summer Passport program with a COVID-friendly series of virtual events. Through this effort, we engaged more than 1,700 college students from 30 countries. 46% were students of color, participating employers from across all sectors of the economy. And did I mention this was virtual? 1,700 college students. The Summer Passports program success has garnered national attention. In the talent space as well, to scale our region's efforts, we actually launched a talent council representing currently 35 companies collaborating on best practices for regional competitiveness. This active council will only continue to thrive this year and into the future. But talents and individuals need great places to live, and that means we must focus investment on communities across our region with plenty of potential. We worked to strengthen communities in a variety of ways last year. As you recall, we added 9 community development organizations to the 7 already participating in our very successful Strengthening Communities Partnership Program. These community development organizations represent 23 neighborhoods and some 180,000 residents across our region. We convene this network regularly to exchange ideas and address also the challenges the COVID-19 pandemic presented to their communities. We supported these efforts to the Enhanced Neighborhood Assistance Program's $36 million tax credit in 2020 and 2021 state budget. This is a key to attracting business investment to our partners. In 2020, we also continued to fund strategic real estate projects ourselves, supporting catalytic business growth and development through the Strategic Investment Fund. In 2020, we closed a nearly $7 million deal for Astrobotic's New Manchester headquarters. Since its inception in 1996, the Strategic Investment Fund has invested a total of $165 million in more than 60 high-impact projects, supporting more than $1 billion of development across this region. These programs, the Strengthening Communities Partnership, the Strategic Investment Fund, as well as its sister fund, the Power of 32 Site Development Fund, are Allegheny Conference-driven investment efforts that focus private sector investment to enhance economic activity in our underserved communities. In tandem, they yield everything from increased availability of affordable housing to prospering neighborhoods to stronger community development organizations and catalytic economic activity. Last year, we also continued to support and advocate for strategic investments in our region's transportation infrastructure. To address our aging inland water infrastructure, we joined with organized labor to advocate for continued funding of the Upper Ohio Navigation Project in Washington, Pennsylvania. To ensure connectivity, we oppose the Trump administration efforts to cut critical public transit investments, including advocating for the Capital Investment Grant Program, which supports our bus rapid transit program. Funding for this program was successfully included in federal legislation at the end of last year. And finally, in support of our sustainability principles that were adopted by the Allegheny Conference Board in 2019, we supported efforts region-wide to expand the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, otherwise known as CPACE, which Washington County actually authorized in 2020. But before I close out the story of 2020, I want to share the Pittsburgh Region Next Is Now anthem video to inspire all of us. And I would like to extend on behalf of myself, the entire conference, our affiliate staff, our board, and all of our representatives, our sincere appreciation for your continued support of our region and our work. 2020 presented us with great challenges. We collectively, public and private sector, rose to this occasion. Thank you all. Be well, be safe, and carry on. Thank you.
We're working to overcome hunger by crowdsourcing the delivery of surplus food to people who need it most. We are building a tech-powered movement globally. That's the community spirit of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, we shape the world. I started Duolingo to give everyone in the world a chance to learn a language for free. We became one of the most downloaded apps of all time, and our team does it from Pittsburgh.
Yes, we are going to the moon. We are building the future here. There have only been 3 nations that have ever landed on the surface of the moon. Pittsburgh Nation will be the next.
Icons are made here. At Knotsland, I'm building a business that's true to myself and the values I believe in. We can thrive in part because of Pittsburgh's support of creative entrepreneurship.
In Pittsburgh, purpose drives us.
In Pittsburgh, you shape the world.
In Pittsburgh, we build.
In Pittsburgh, you can become iconic.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's turn now to our 2021 plans. As Stephanie said, in 2021 and beyond, we must work to accelerate progress against our goal of becoming a vibrant region for all. Many organizations have been able to thrive during the pandemic, but many others, especially smaller businesses and their employees, have struggled. We must work together to get the engine of our economy, small businesses, fully open and ensure we can provide a bright future for everyone who lives here. The 10-year plan we released at the end of 2019 provided a vision and strategy to drive towards the promise of a globally competitive, inclusive region defined by a strong economy, thriving people, and a high quality of place. This is still our vision. While the pandemic has required the Allegheny Conference and employers region-wide to pivot to address immediate critical needs, we remain committed to the fundamental vision outlined in the 10-year plan. We will achieve a globally competitive, inclusive region defined by a strong economy, thriving people, and a high quality of place. This will not happen overnight. We need to focus on the few things that are going to make a meaningful difference. We know that becoming a strong and vibrant region is good for all of us, whatever our individual or business interests are. Now is the time to come together as a region. In addition to supporting our own businesses, we must come together to work for the greater good of our region. When the region wins, we all win. In 2021 and beyond, we will do all we can to help bring an end to the pandemic and accelerate our region's recovery. We will achieve a recovery that is equal to or better than national and benchmark rates. And we will position our key sectors to experience growth rates above national average. Shortly, you will receive from the conference team the work plan for 2021. It is focused, achievable, and actionable. Please take the time to read the plan and get involved. Now, more than ever, we need to come together. This plan has 3 key focus areas. First, strong economy. Second, thriving people. And third, quality of place. First, strong economy. To strengthen our economy, we will position our region for job growth and investment, both for current companies and new to the region companies. We will do so by focusing on sectors where our region has competitive strengths. And within these sectors, we'll focus on high growth, high investment opportunities. We will leverage our product improvement model to identify and prioritize the policies and partnerships needed to remove barriers and accelerate business investment. We will create a more cost competitive and attractive region for business. We need to make our business tax structure and rates competitive to signal to the world that our region welcomes businesses of all sizes and that here they can prosper. We will deploy the Pittsburgh Region Next Is Now brand in strategic markets in the US and globally, ensuring decision makers in our target industries know that something is happening in Pittsburgh and they need to be here to be part of it. Second, thriving people. We will grow talent availability and we will improve racial equity in our region. We will attract and retain the people our businesses need to succeed. We'll do this by expanding efforts to elevate and retain the people we have here and to attract and retain diverse talent in our region. We will go after targeted investments that build ecosystems to welcome talent, particularly women and people of color, and ensure robust professional networks and the opportunity to thrive in our region. We will leverage one of our greatest assets, our institutions of higher education, to build off the success of programs like Pittsburgh Passport to increase our college student retention rates by 10%. We will improve our competitive position by orienting federal advocacy efforts towards immigration and higher education policies that strengthen our talent pipeline, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And we will eradicate racism and improve racial equity in our region in support of our vision for thriving people. Building on Stephanie's remarks, we can and we must do better. We are committing to increasing the percentage of Black talent in our talent pipeline overall, from entry level to the C-suite and board. We will also address the need for financing for small and minority-owned businesses and target investment into communities of color, while also pursuing high-impact policy changes such as paid sick leave and criminal justice reform. I repeat, we can and we must do better. Third, quality of place. We will leverage investment opportunities to improve infrastructure, catalyze development, and ensure communities across the region thrive and are attractive to residents and newcomers alike. From public-private investments to business and real estate financing, we will focus on relevant, creative, and collaborative approaches to ensure all communities in our region, regardless of zip code, have access to the resources to be part of the region's success. We have a unique opportunity to attract infrastructure investment to our region, from broadband and 5G to waterways and ports to smart infrastructure. This type of investment is at the nexus of regional vitality and will have a catalytic impact, not just on our quality of place, but our people and our economy. These plans are ambitious and achievable. Achievable because of your engagement and support, and also because of the amazing leadership team we have in place, which includes Bill Demchak, Chairman, President, and CEO of the PNC Financial Services Group, who's agreed to step into the role as chair of the conference's economic development affiliate, the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance. Brian Selesky, founder and CEO of Argo AI, who took over as chair of the conference's policy and advocacy affiliate, the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce last fall. And Becky Kachowski, partner in charge, Jones Day Pittsburgh, who has joined Bill Strickland, founder and executive chairman, Manchester Bidwell Corporation, as co-chair of the Economy League. This is a unique combination of strong and determined leaders with diverse perspectives and a passionate commitment to our region. I am honored and energized to work with this leadership team and all of you. Now I'll let you hear from them directly.
A little more than a year ago, we unveiled a 10-year vision for regional vitality with a strong economy as our top priority. This was before we knew about the pandemic. Now, as we focus on the region's recovery and post-pandemic future, attracting and retaining investments and talent, particularly diverse talent, is a top priority. This is the job of the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance, the conference's economic development arm. Truth is, to achieve what we all want, a vital, globally competitive region that delivers an economy for all, we need economic growth. We needed it before the pandemic, and now we need it even more. And in the world of economic development, growth is about competition. It's about securing the jobs, investments, and the people we need to thrive. At the PRA, we know that success for our region will come from strengthening our competitive advantages. Our region can realize its economic potential if we nurture, promote, and build on what we do well. For example, we have an opportunity to attract a significant share of investments in robotics, automation, and energy innovation. We also have an opportunity to grow life sciences, another field with massive potential in our region. Focusing our energy on these and other areas that have the potential for significant growth could help offset some of the disruption from the pandemic. Could also help ensure that we land our fair share of national and global investments and position our region for longer-term opportunities. At the end of the day, this approach could result in more investments that create more jobs, attract more talent, and allow us to better support communities across the region. Despite the challenges of 2020, the PRA has made progress in reshaping its support of the region. We've built a new economic development strategy anchored in our competitive assets. We've identified the partnerships and policies needed to support this strategy and our economy as a whole. And we've modernized our marketing efforts, developing the tools needed for success, including the new Next is Now brand. With this foundation in place, our focus turns to shifting from a reactive approach to one that allows us to proactively reach out to companies and talent in our targeted growth sectors before the competition does. Better collaborating and aligning with the state on economic development outreach and investments. With just 5 conference team members on our PRA staff, a stronger partnership with the state can help us win some of the more than 100 investments that are currently in our pipeline. So think about that for a second. We have 5 people who are currently trying to manage 100 existing investment opportunities, yet we're challenging them with outreach to attract more. This is an area where I think we are under-resourced. It's an area where I think the state and the county and the city can play a major role. And it's an area that I don't know that we can expect major change from the past unless we change the way we resource and deploy those resources. We built the foundation to succeed on this. We built the marketing tools, the brand. We know what we're going to focus on. We have partners. We need to go after it, but we're going to have to do so in a greater scale than we're doing today. We also need to address the biggest barriers to securing investment in our region, including our uncompetitive state tax policy. Now, in a second, you're going to hear from Brian Selewski, the new chair of the Greater Pittsburgh Chamber, on how this impacts our region and what the Chamber is doing to address this. But in simple form, just as an example, we at PNC recently announced the acquisition of BBVA USA, which has a big presence in Texas. The Texas governor called me and said, listen, we have 0 personal income taxes. We have 0 state taxes. We passed a constitutional amendment such that can't change. It's funded as an aside from a wellhead tax. But basically, he said, you come down here and move your headquarters and we will support you. Now, we're not moving our headquarters. We love Pittsburgh, but that's what we're competing with. We need an environment where people want to come. We have some differentiated capabilities in this region. We need to play to those strengths, but we need to try to level the playing field to the best of our ability. We move on to talent. When it comes to talent, it's up to employers of all sizes to do a better job of elevating and retaining the people we have while attracting and retaining diverse talent from across the country and across the globe. For local talent, particularly women and people of color, we want to create pipeline opportunities and other pathways that lead to the innovation economy in high demand, highly skilled jobs. To retain our homegrown talent and a larger share of the 40,000 college students who graduate from regional universities each year, we'll continue to showcase Pittsburgh through the Pittsburgh Passport program. And to attract talent, we are working with Vibrant Pittsburgh and other partners to create a more welcoming atmosphere to newcomers. We're also working on attracting professional organizations and social networks that support and elevate diverse talent. And through our Pittsburgh Region Next is Now Talent Toolkit, we are giving hundreds of recruiters the tools they need to promote the Pittsburgh region to a rich and diverse talent pool. We have plenty of potential here, but we've also got a lot of work to do, especially to knock down the barriers in our way. That takes advocacy. To talk about our priorities when it comes to public policy, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Selesky. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. If you run a business, you're always listening to your customers to make your product or service better. Well, if you're a region, you still need input from customers. Those customers are the businesses and people you want to attract and retain. Whether it's improving taxes and regulations, investing in infrastructure, or attracting talent from across the country and around the globe, this work requires building coalitions and relationships with stakeholders across the community, becoming well-versed on a multitude of public policy issues, and making the case to regional, state, or federal public officials. That's the role the Chamber plays within the Allegheny Conference. Through our efforts, we remove impediments, making our region competitive for business investment and talent, and this unlocks the full potential of our economy. I'm pleased to share our top priorities with you today. It's no secret that Pennsylvania's business tax climate is uncompetitive. In fact, it's an issue mentioned by both sides of the political aisle. Specifically, we're focusing on where change is most needed, the corporate net income tax rate. At 9.9%, the CNI is among the highest in the country, a red flag that discourages employers from even considering investing here. Pennsylvania's unfriendly CNI impacts businesses of all sizes, from our large employers to startups, both of whom we should be doing everything in our power to retain in Pittsburgh. By direct extension, it also impacts our ability to attract and keep talent here, our children, grandchildren, and friends, due to the lack of opportunity created by our non-competitive market position. Pennsylvania's tax rate imposes a considerable cost of doing business across the board. That said, it is important to note that Pennsylvania has a relatively low personal income tax rate, particularly compared with neighboring states. Today, companies and people are on the move from large metros to those mid-sized markets with a reputation for being both business-friendly and individually attractive. We will have a very strong hand if we can make our business tax structure more competitive and pair it with a low personal rate. The time to act is now to signal a new day in Pennsylvania. An issue that cuts to the core of our ability to elevate our region's attractiveness is transportation and infrastructure. It is no secret that this will be a major push from the Biden administration, and we want to be ready. We expect it to be a topic in the February State of the Union address from President Biden, and will be focused on investment in public transit, stopping the bleeding on road funding, a push for a new Smart City Challenge, and a large new discretionary grant program. We plan to communicate to the new administration regularly over the next 6 months while this process plays out. We've outlined these and our other 2021 advocacy and policy priorities in the work plan we'll share following today's meeting. It includes policy action needed on immigration reform, energy policy, and support for the conference's racial equity agenda on issues such as paid sick leave. If we do all the things we're talking about, we will enhance regional vitality, offering greater prosperity to people and places across our region. Now, it's my pleasure to turn the program over to Becky Kachowski and Bill Strickland, co-chairs of the Pennsylvania Economy League.
Thanks, Brian. At the end of the day, the work that we do together through the Allegheny Conference is about improving the region through effective economic development. And effective economic development starts at the community level. What excited me so much about joining Bill Strickland and chairing the Economy League this year was the opportunity to play a direct role in making a difference for the communities and people of the region. In 2021, at the Allegheny Conference, we'll be amplifying and refining a suite of investment programs that we've been using for a number of years. These initiatives spur important economic activity in underserved communities through private sector partners and investments. The first of these is the Strengthening Communities Partnership. Through this partnership, we support 16 different communities and the 180,000 residents that live there. We'll continue to broker new business partnerships and private sector investments through the Pennsylvania Neighborhood Assistance Tax Credit Program to make these communities stronger, more prosperous, and sustainable. The second fund that we're supporting this year is the Strategic Investment Fund. In this fund, we fund real estate projects that spur economic growth, support the development of affordable housing, and foster community redevelopment. The fund has been in place since 1996, and since then, the fund has invested in 63 different projects that have delivered an economic impact of $1.1 billion. As the current fund nears its completion, we're committed to continuing this impact. We'll be launching a third funding round to ensure that we can expand this catalytic neighborhood investment and support new developers in communities across our region. The third fund that we'll be supporting this year is the Power of 32 Site Development Fund. As the economy recovers, our Power of 32 Site Development Fund will play an even more robust role in readying development sites. We'll be focused this year on brownfield sites and land in underserved communities. And this is the kind of investment that's essential in an economy for all. And as we build from these three established programs, we'll also be seeking to address an important need that's been identified across our communities. And that's financing for small and minority-owned businesses in underserved communities. The pandemic highlighted and underscored this need when many unbanked women and minority-owned businesses were unable to get COVID relief financing before that money ran out. So we need to expand the number of community development financial institutions in our region. These are nonprofit lenders that deliver responsible, affordable lending in underinvested communities. Now more than ever, we see the importance of well thought out community development backed by effective investment instruments. The Economy League will be guiding these efforts through impact studies and other analyses, and I'm honored to be joining Bill Strickland in leading this work.
Becky, I'm pleased to be working with you as well. As you may recall, the Allegheny Conference is set out to deliver a regional vitality for all, and emphasis on the final words, quote, for all, end quote. It's been clear for a long time, but perhaps not fully appreciated until last year, that too many of our neighbors were being left behind in our economy, even before the pandemic. That's why we are increasingly dedicating ourselves to, quote, inclusive growth, end quote. The idea as we improve our economy, we bring everyone who lives here along with us. Yes, it involves racial justice, but it also involves social justice. Nobody gets left behind. The doors are open to all. Everyone gets a fair shot. Everyone gets a share. We need to commit to this. To this end, the conference board has developed a robust racial equity strategy that includes investments in support of upward professional mobility of people of color, expanding access to capital for minority-owned businesses and communities of color, and advancing policies such as paid sick leave and others. We are strengthening our internal capacity to be more effectively partnered with regional organizations that are committed to eradicating racial inequities. But we are also committed to reaching up and down our region's rivers and everywhere in between the rural communities that have missed out on the transformation of our region's economy, to leverage our core industry sectors, such as advanced manufacturing and energy, colleges in every county, while investing in better digital connectivity and 21st century infrastructure to make sure that next is now for all 2.5 million of us. The Economy League will be guiding these efforts through strategic research. We will actively share our analytics and insights with the broad community to report on our progress and lessons learned. We can do this. We will do this. And I'm honored to be a part of the team preparing for the next chapter in our region's history. With that, I want to turn the program back to Laura.
Thank you, Bill. And I just want to echo before we end what Bill said. We can do this. We will do this. Thank you to Bill, Brian, Becky, and Bill for your leadership. And again, thank you to all of our regional investors for your support. We cannot do any of this without you. And we will be following up to ask you how and where you'd like to get involved and help advance this agenda. especially when the time comes to make the case to state and federal elected officials. In the meantime, watch your inboxes following this meeting for the work plan that I mentioned earlier in the meeting. This concludes our annual meeting. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us and for all of your support. Go Pittsburgh.